Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, please allow me to welcome His Excellency Karel Havlíček, the Minister of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic. Mr. Minister, thank you for joining us. It's an honor having you. And as Mr. Hoyer from the European Investment Bank said, the green recovery is necessary. We cannot escape that. But the million-dollar question, or maybe should I say the million-euro question, is how do we make that process fair and sustainable? And that is the topic of the forthcoming debate. The moderator is Mrs. Zeilina. Linda, I give the floor to you, and I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Jan. Welcome, colleagues, dear guests, excellencies, and friends. We have a very high-level discussion ahead of us, and as Jan correctly pointed out, it is a million-euro question. How will we transition in a socially just and an environmentally sustainable way? And today with us, we have Mrs. Lilyana Pavlova, the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, responsible for cohesion policy and advisory services. She wears multiple hats at the bank, overall supervising data governance, relations with the Vienna Initiative, amongst other things. Previously, Mrs. Pavlova has actually been member of the National Assembly of the Republic of Bulgaria. She has also held 2 mandates as the Minister of Regional Development and Public Works. And prior to that, she has a very distinguished career in public service in a variety of roles, such as Head of Department at Ministry of Finance, National Fund Directorate, and so on and so forth. And also with us today in person, which is of course also very exciting since we're having a hybrid event, we have His Excellency Karel Havlíček, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Industry and Trade, and also Minister for Transport in the Czech Republic. Since the turn of the millennium, Mr. Havlíček has been defending the interests of entrepreneurs. He has a long and distinguished career in fighting for the funding for SMEs. He has been the chairman of the board of directors of the Association for SMEs and Crafts of the Czech Republic. And he used to be the co-owner and CEO of Syndat Group, where he developed the company into a very respected investor, supporting small and medium enterprises. Previously, Mr. Havlíček has been a member of a number of advisory bodies to the government and to ministries, and very importantly and very relevant to our topic today as well, he has been the lead author of the government innovation strategy for the Czech Republic. And a very interesting fact, His Excellency Havlíček has also a hobby linked to music, so he will often be publishing articles about world-famous musicians such as Leonard Cohen and Pink Floyd, which I think is just shows the depth and scope of different skills that we have today. So I welcome you all to this session. Just to take a couple of minutes to set the scene, since we don't have very much time. But as we all probably know, InvestEU is a very important part of EU's funding mechanisms. And altogether, the plan is to mobilize around 370 billion euros in funding to help and jumpstart economy, to help Europe become competitive and green. However, recent surveys have created a bit of worry, because in a recent survey, what we found out is that 45% of EU companies are worried and think that COVID will have negative impact on their investment plans. That is 45%, that is worrying. However, even worse, 81% is saying that the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic and post-COVID recovery is even more worrying, because that might be a biggest barrier for making significant investments. And on top of that, very interestingly, in Europe at least, 35%, so around 1/3, thinks that climate will have a minor impact on their future operations. So this is the landscape that we face, and it would be fantastic to start unpacking these topics with our speakers today. So first I'll go to Vice President Pavlova and ask, is actually Europe well positioned to take advantage of green recovery and green transition? Or is it that we actually still need to do more, especially in light of such worrying facts and figures? Please, Mrs. Pavlova.
Good afternoon, Linda. I hope you can hear me and you can see me. Dear Minister, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to join you today. Unfortunately, only virtually, but thanks to the excellent organization and the hybrid format we are joining, we can have this opportunity. In these exceptional times, the gravity of COVID-19 crisis is still unfolding, and we are required to take all necessary steps to cushion the health and economic fallout. But at the same time, we have to be very, very precise on how we plan, and really we need very wisely to set out our priorities in order to make sure that these uncertainties and these worries, as you mentioned, Linda, are really, we need to prepare a coherent and robust, sustainable recovery plan for the future. And on your question specifically, is Europe well positioned? I believe yes. I believe the European Union is and shall continue being an important layer of the post-crisis economic architecture in order to ensure that we are aligned, that we have a much better coordination between the different market players, between the businesses and governments, and of course the European institutions and the private sector. Because mobilizing resources, it's important, but at the same time, we need to make sure that the resources available are really well planned and efficiently deployed. We must be ambitious when it comes, of course, to our future in our planning, and of course, planning the future. We have to see what is the best way to make sure that it's green, and it is digital. And Europe has been on the green path long before the pandemic. So, of course, the European Investment Bank being the EU climate bank, and at the same time, as you already heard in the video, the EIB is one of the largest multilateral providers of finance for projects supporting the different objectives. So already last year, 40% of our financing, which is totally almost 70 billion per year, was dedicated and deployed to support green projects and green recovery. And as we announced, the EIB is transforming and has transformed into an EU climate bank, which represents a giant step in our ambition to contribute to the overall ambitious target of 2050 Europe becoming the carbon neutral continent. And everything we do, we are now fully aligned of this year with the principles of the Paris Agreement, and we put climate in everything we do. But at the same time, in Europe, in order to achieve the 2030 greenhouse gas reduction targets alone, we need 350 billion euro of additional financing annually, which is a double-digit increase compared to the current total investment levels in EU. So with the next generation EU, the recovery package, with the reinforcement of the overall European budget, together with the commitments by the European Investment Bank, I believe that now the European Green Deal is well backed with unprecedented public financial firepower. So we very much welcome this the package, the Next Generation EU, and its main pillar, the new Recovery and Resilience Facility, because it provides excellent opportunities to support investments and structural reforms and recovery of the countries, of regions, and of the businesses. Yet the volume is not the only important requirement. We do have now significant amount of funding allocated, but now I believe, and we all must focus on the quality of each investment, and of course on its impact, because I believe these are the two important questions, because now we do have significant amount of funds, but these are very important questions, and we need to be really careful, analyzing well and planning well before we decide and we deploy specific funding following the in investing in different projects. Since we have to be coherent, since we have to ensure sustainability, and we have to better integrate the transport sector, energy sector, digital sectors in order to help the recovery happen in a sustainable way, and at the same time to achieve the EU climate objectives.
Thank you.
And in combating the climate change, we should put innovation and sustainable investments in the center of our effort.
Thank you, Vice President Pavlova. I think that's a very good point, that to even start investing and to start the transition, we do need to see the opportunities and the bigger picture in terms of what is the strategy and what are the priority sectors and how that links together. And we have somebody with very long experience working on actually practically tackling these issues on a national level. So, Deputy Prime Minister, I would love to ask, in terms of this green and digital transition that we're talking about and trying to implement, what are the particular opportunities that you see for the Czech Republic in this context, in the context of green and digital transition? And also, do you believe that there are more things that need to be done on the European level to help and support, or is it now also the responsibility of the national governments?
Well, to create economy based on added value. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really an honor for me to be here with you. And as you know, we have to restart the economy. We have to restart the social activities. We have to restart cultural activities, educational process after the COVID crisis. But on the other hand, there are not only the obstacles, there are not only the barriers and threats, there are also the opportunities. And that means that we have to transform industrial sector. Czech Republic is one of the most industrialized country in Europe. But on the other hand, we have to transform the industry segment to so-called added value industry. That means we have to invest into the innovation, we have to invest into research and development, we have to invest into the science. That's first. Then we have to support the SMEs activities. We have to support the regional infrastructure. On the basis of the regional infrastructure, there are the small and medium enterprises. At the same time, we have to support the creation of startups and spin-offs. And it's quite good to say that even before the crisis, as a COVID crisis, we introduced new innovation strategy of the Czech Republic. The innovation strategy is called Czech Republic, the country for the future. And this is the strategy which is completely changing the priorities of the Czech Republic at the level of research and development. We are completely changed the system of evaluation of research and development, the system of financing of research and development. At the same time, we are supporting the startups and spin-offs and creating the environment for the startups and spin-offs. At the same time, we are extremely supporting the process of digitization. At the same time, we are supporting the special investment activities based on investment incentives, based on added value, on innovation. And at the same time, we are changing the brand of the Czech Republic. We are leaving so-called old brand, which was called Czech Republic, land of stories, and we are introducing and traveling across the world and introducing the Czech Republic as a self-confident country, as a country which is based on innovation, on knowledges, on great universities and research environment. And the other pillars for, let's say, the recovery activities or recovery plan of the Czech Republic, which is collaborating with the vision of the European Union. And once more, the answer to your question, how to present the Czech Republic and how I see the future of the Czech Republic at a level of the added value-oriented economy. But on the other hand, it's not only about the financial indicators, it's not only about the economic factors, it's also about sustainability, it's also about independency, especially in the energy sector, and it's also about security. Well, so all of these factors we have balanced with the economic factors.
Thank you. It's a very good point that we need a balancing act, very careful one. And I welcome you actually highlighting the human capital aspect, because when we have been looking at the numbers, it looks like globally the most valuable companies, actually their biggest assets are intangible, so it's human capital. And I think Czech Republic has deep pockets of that capital, so it's very welcome to see that the more investment is going into that. We have had a lot of conversations during this summit and also in previous summits about convergence, because we do not want to see what we call at our center a new green iron curtain. We actually want to create some convergence here. We want people's livelihoods to get better while also more sustainable. So my next question will be actually to Vice President Pavlova. Since you are overseeing cohesion at the EIB, my question is, from your experience, what are the main challenges for cohesion areas, and how can we make sure that the recovery that happens across these regions is fair and sustainable, and actually convergence is taking place? And what concrete actions is the EIB taking to make this happen?
Thank you very much, Linda. Well, supporting cohesion is one of the founding principles of the EIB. When it was established in 1959, it's part of the DNA of the bank. So, and we continue investing significant amount of our funding, of our lending, both in the public and the private sector, via different instruments, lending, blending, of course, advisory support for the regions, for the countries, to SMEs, in order to support the economic development and convergence. In the last and the previous programming period, last multi-annual financial framework, we have lent more than 130 billion euros in cohesion regions and in different cohesion-related and convergence-related activities in our lending. And our lending in cohesion represented 30% of our lending, and it continues to be core priority. And the main part of this priority is to make sure that no people, no places, no businesses are left behind along the transition pathway, and of course overcoming the challenges for the recovery from the pandemic, and at the same time to make sure that we are not facing this climate, how we call the curtain, the challenges ahead of us. So EU policy and EU policies are key drivers in our cohesion lending, and the EU cohesion policy is in fact broadening since the new programming period. The new cohesion policy for the period 2021 has evolved, and now the cohesion map of regions has significantly expanded. Now cohesion priority regions are all regions below the EU economic development average, where we have in the map not only less developed regions, where we know that the GDP is less than 75% of the EU average, but now we have increased this map with transition regions where the GDP is between 75 and 100% of the EU average. So now we have two categories, which are two categories of regions which are both eligible for our financing. And at the same time, the main challenge for all of us is to make sure that EU cohesion policy and our investments in cohesion are well aligned with other EU policies like EU climate ambition, industrial policies and industrial ambitions, because at the same time they all together entail significant changes, first of all, and of course challenges. Because many of the traditional energy-intensive industries, which are absolutely the key drivers of the employment in cohesion regions specifically, they will have to adapt. Unfortunately, some of them will have to disappear, and we will have to find the best way to replace them and to extend opportunities in people working in these energy-intensive industries, in making sure that we are not leaving the businesses and people behind. And at the same time, we have the just transition. Just and fair transition is now at the core of the new cohesion policy. And I'm glad to say that the bank will play a central role in the just transition mechanism, supporting the three pillars, all three pillars, starting with the Just Transition Fund, which is the pillar 1, with the opportunity to provide additional co-financing, additional financing for the regions, for SMEs, in financing the different measures, investments in energy transition, energy efficiency, and many others. With the second pillar, where we have a dedicated Just Transition scheme under the InvestEU, where we will be managing 75% of the investments in support of SME, in support in attractive private investments, and in channeling funds for sustainable energy, sustainable transport, and many other. And last but not least, the third pillar, which is the public sector loan facility, which will be backed by the European Commission with additional grant element, where we are going to provide specific loans for the public sector at good conditions, so with grant element, of course, to be provided for investments in regions, in renovation of buildings, district heating systems, and many other investments in order to make sure that the transition for the regions is just and fair. Along all this, a very, very important element which I want to mention is our in-house advisory, and for our advisory hub, for our JASPERS team, because advisory, technical, financial advisory, in supporting the regions to prepare, first of all, good plans, but then a strong pipeline of projects which could be supported in order the implementation of the different programs, plans, in order to deploy the funding in an efficient way, is crucial and it's critical, and we are there to provide this support and adequate financing for these advisory services in order to make sure that transition to the low-carbon economy of the regions is following an economic model which is coherent and which makes sure that the social element of this investment is not undermined.
Thank you, Vice President Pavlova. It's very interesting that you touch upon the technical facility, because we do hope that in the future it's going to be expanded further, because what we hear time and again is that these are very complex matters to navigate, and we actually have a problem with project origination and figuring out how to actually make these projects bankable and easier to finance. We've been having quite an active audience, so we have around 4 questions coming in. We are running out of time, but I think these questions are actually perfectly created for Deputy Prime Minister. So main question that seems to be circulating around from various people is a question about the Czech infrastructure. So it's a question whether Czech infrastructure is ready for the complex green and digital transformation. So it's a question about what more we need to invest in and what we need to work on. And an additional question that links very well to that is also the question about the coal to gas transition. We're hearing more and more about the worries about stranded assets that would then end up on the public purse and difficult to get rid of or difficult to decommission. So it would be very interesting to hear your thoughts in terms of where are we heading and how can we tackle the infrastructure question, which of course will be key for economic competitiveness.
Well, thank you for the questions. From the point of view of CO2, 40% is based on a segment of energy, 20% in a segment of industry, and 15% in a segment of transport. All of these segments, they are covered by the two ministries, as the Ministry of Industry and Trade and Ministry of Transport, so both of them, the ministries, they are active. And if the infrastructure is ready, partly, especially in the energy sector, they are maybe the biggest challenges in the last 50 years. We have to start the process of decarbonization, and in the energy sector it will be extremely difficult because we are still coal-oriented economy. 55% of the central heating systems are based on a coal. 45% of the production of the electricity is based on the coal. And when we have to start the process of decarbonization in the energy segment, that means that we have to replace all of the sources, we have to invest into the new technologies, and we have to invest into the new technologies relative in a short period. And we have to arrange the energy infrastructure so that we'll be still the country which is independent on the import of the energy. That means that we have to invest into the nuclear energy, and that's a new project of the Czech government. We are investing into the block number 5 in the Dukovany, and we will be continue. The new government will have the same let's say, opportunity to decide to invest into the new nuclear block or blocks in a Temelín. At the same time, we are investing into the renewables and, as you mentioned, the transition source. And that's no other way. It's a gas. Because when we have to, let's say, reduce the coal sources by more than 10,000 megawatts, that means that we have to replace it by the new sources. And we have no chance to replace it only at a level of renewables. So at the same time, we have to invest in the nuclear and of course the gas. But gas, I accept, it's just a transition source. At the same time, we have to support the new technologies based on the hydrogen and so on. In a segment of industry, it's a little bit different because how I presented, we are one of the most industrial-oriented country, and we are closely connected to Germany. That means that, for example, in a sector of Industry 4.0, we are very, very active and one of the most important players in Europe. And we are investing into the artificial intelligence, we are investing into the 5G solutions, and from this point of view, I can guarantee that the Czech Republic it's going the right way. Then a segment of transportation. Well, we are quite conservative-oriented country, so we are not so happy to buy the new cars based on electricity and so on. So the clean mobility, it's a big challenge for us, but as a government, we are investing extremely a lot of sources, especially into the infrastructure. At the same time, we are supporting the public sector to buy the cars based on a clean mobility, and at the same time, we are supporting the companies, firms, they will buy the cars based on a clean mobility.
Thank you so much, Deputy Prime Minister. I think that actually brings us to the end because we are short on time. But I think what ties this discussion together is that we do have a few challenges, but we're working on them. And from an investment point of view, I do think that in this region, every euro invested actually gives you a lot more impact because the starting point is completely different. So if you care about impact, I think this is definitely the region which you should watch, a region with a lot of impact to be had, and also hopefully with the right priorities and investments, with a much, much brighter future. Thank you, everyone. I'll give the floor back to my colleague, Jan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda, and also thank you, Your Excellency, Minister Havlíček, for your time and for being here with us and sharing your insights from the government's point of view.
A pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you.